This woman taught herself law to get her brother out of jail. What a legend. A woman who works 2 jobs and studies at night found key evidence that proved her brother was wrongfully jailed. She filed a motion herself and won her brother's appeal. This led her to a life-changing decision that nobody thought possible. It was the beginning of a long journey that took several years. The judge ordered the immediate release of the innocent man who had been sentenced to 28 years in prison. This is unbelievable. Let's dive in. This incredible story was shared by a Reddit user. It all began when she discovered a shocking secret about her brother's conviction. Her brother was convicted for murder. He always maintained his innocence, but no one believed him. It was a small piece of evidence, but it was enough to cast doubt on the conviction. They thought he was guilty as charged. But his sister never gave up hope. She wanted to prove once and for all that her brother was innocent, so she did something crazy. They'd never seen this evidence before, and it raised serious doubts about her brother's guilt. After hearing her motion, the judge had no choice but to grant it. She wasn't a lawyer, so she didn't know if she would even be able to get the court's attention. He had been wrongfully jailed for over 10 years. This was an incredible moment for her and her family. They had never given up hope that he would be freed, but they had begun to lose hope that it would ever happen, no matter how difficult it may seem. This woman is a true hero. If you did, don't forget to like and share. Thanks for watching. See you next time. She took it upon herself to learn law, not for herself, but for her brother. She put her own needs aside and devoted herself to freeing her brother, and she succeeded. He also planted a fake weapon on the teenager. But now he has to repeat his senior year because of what the police did to him. It's a miracle that his grades are still good, but his parents are very angry and want justice for their son. He was trying to frame him for a crime. His name is Joe. He was going to school at the time. They're lucky they have a good relationship with their son. It shows the officer approaching the boy and talking to him, and the officer reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small bag of marijuana. He drops it onto the table in front of the boy and then pats him down. The police officer was the only one who saw the bag of drugs. Nobody else saw it. That's why the boy was shocked. The police officer had actually planted the drugs in his backpack. She said that the officer had ruined her son's life. He had made him a criminal in the eyes of the law. They reviewed the surveillance footage and interviewed the police officer. He had done this to frame him for a crime he didn't commit. He said that he had planted the drugs in the boy's backpack because he didn't like him. He said that he had been looking for an excuse to get rid of him. She wanted to tell her son's story. She wanted everyone to know what the officer had done. She thought that he was a good man who was trying to make a difference in the world. She said that she was ashamed of him and that she didn't know how he could live with himself after what he had done. She said that her son was an honor roll student. They also contacted the police department and told them about what he had done. He had never been in trouble at school, could have ended up in jail for years. But instead, he was only suspended from school for a month. They were grateful that their son had not been sent to jail. He threw himself into his studies and he made new friends. He never let what happened to him hold him back. He then walks back to the car and picks up the bag of marijuana. The police officer's daughter saw the news reports about her father's arrest. She was shocked and horrified. He walks back to the boy and tells him to pack up his stuff. This was his senior year, but she had to try. She had nothing to lose. He was nervous about starting over, but he knew that it was the best thing for him. They knew that she was just a victim of circumstance. She said that she wanted to make it up to him. They did not want to cause any more trouble for her. She had taught herself law to get her brother out of jail. This is an amazing story of perseverance and determination. She started studying law. The corrupt cop who framed an innocent man for robbery was sentenced to 4 years in prison himself. You won't believe what he did. The boy's face falls and he looks down at his feet. He slowly begins to pack up his things. A cop framed an innocent man for robbery, but his own daughter exposed him. This woman is proof that we should never give up hope. Every night she would come home from work and study law books. This woman is a true inspiration. She showed us that if we set our minds to it, we can achieve anything. He was a police officer in South Padre Island, Texas, but recently he was arrested and taken to jail himself. He was accused of misconduct. But this is not the whole story. They wouldn't listen to her. She needed to take matters into her own hands. She decided to file a motion herself. She spent countless hours poring over legal documents, learning everything she could about her brother's case. She was determined to find a way to prove his innocence. And after months of hard work, her efforts paid off. She found a loophole in the case. She discovered evidence that the prosecution had overlooked. But what should she do with this information? She knew that she couldn't go to the police or the courts. She drafted up a motion and filed it with the court. It was a risky move, but she had no other options. The court did listen to her, though. He saw that there was a real possibility that her brother was innocent, and they agreed to hear her motion. This was a major victory for her. She presented her evidence to the court, and they were shocked. She never gave up. And because of her hard work and dedication, her brother was finally a free man again. It just goes to show that if you really want something, if you truly believe in something, then you can achieve it. This is an incredible story that gives me hope for humanity. It shows that one person can make a difference. And sometimes, all it takes is one person with the courage to fight for what they believe in. What's your favorite part of the story? Let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy the video? Now, this is another story that might make you angry. He was caught on camera planting drugs on a teenager. They want the officer fired and arrested. They want to see him behind bars. The officer finds nothing during the search. So he goes back to his car and gets into his police uniform. He puts on his badge and his gun, tells him that he's under arrest for possession of a controlled substance. When the police searched his backpack, they didn't find anything. That's why the boy's parents were so angry. They wanted justice for their son. They wanted the officer fired and arrested. The boy's mother reached out to the media. She demanded that the officer be fired and arrested. She wanted him to face the same consequences that her son had faced. Luckily for Joe, the school administration took action. They launched an investigation into the incident. The police officer admitted to what he had done. That's when the police decided to arrest him. They charged him with misconduct. They also suspended his police license. Joe's parents were happy that justice had been served. But the story doesn't end there. She reached out to Joe's parents. She apologized for what her father had done. Joe's parents accepted her apology. They knew that she was not to blame. After the ordeal, Joe transferred to a different school. But Joe was determined to make the best of his situation.